Recovering from Modern Media by Richard M. Weaver. There are, it is true, certain hopeful signs of restiveness growing out of our condition. Most of us have observed among ordinary people a deep suspicion of propaganda since the First World War. The lesson of that disillusionment has lasted, surprisingly. So intense has been this distrust that during the recent conflict, the most authentic stories of outrages, documented and proved in every possible way, either were met with outright disbelief or were accepted gingerly and with reservations. The common man realizes that he has been misled and that there are those who would mislead him again, but lacking analytical power, he tends to group every instance of organized expression with propaganda. In times of peace, too, he has exhibited a certain hard headed resistance to attempts to drive or cajole him. We have seen in this country politicians elected in the face of almost unanimous press opposition. We note oftentimes a cagey dismissal of the obvious falsification in advertising, and I have heard simple men remark that newspapers should not print items of a private and distressing nature, such as we have classified as obscene. In serious writing, too, there are some hopeful portents of change. It has been noted how modern poets have reacted against the debased coinage of cliché language, and indications appear in other types of literature that the middle class world picture is being abandoned. Perhaps Arthur Koestler is right. As the bourgeois novel flickers out, an entirely new type of writer is destined to appear. Airmen, revolutionaries, adventurers, men who lead the dangerous life. Such indeed seem Salome, Saint Exupéry, Hemingway. These will carry the gift for reflection into experiences of intense physical distress, and they will emerge with a more genuine contempt for materialist explanations than has been seen for centuries. When Saint Exupéry, for example, declares that the physical drama itself cannot touch us until someone points out its spiritual sense, he makes an affirmation of tragedy and significance. In a way, these men have the same recourse as medieval mystics, who, in suffering, caught the vision. And since their faith has been tested by fire, they cannot be intimidated by those things which reduce the armchair philosopher to meekness. They have broken through the falsity and have returned to tell that the world is not at all what it has been made to seem, not after one has cut loose from security and comfort and achieved a kind of freedom far different from that promised by political liberals, who are themselves pushing slides into the stereopticon. In reflecting on what is taught by extremities, one is reminded of Yeats's saying that saints and drunkards are never Whigs. It will certainly have to be asked whether European fascism is not just this impulse vulgarized and perverted. The rebellion of youth, the repudiation of bourgeois complacency, the attempt to renew the sense of holiness and heroism appear the beginning of a revolt at least as deep-seated as that which made the French Revolution. The revolt was led by ignorant spirits who were impelled from behind by resentment, and who, through their determination to invert the Christian ethic, made an unexampled fiasco. There is no reason to believe, however, that the deep dissatisfaction with the superficiality of Western life has been removed or even mitigated. And this is why we wonder how long the stereopticon can preserve the inane world which the bourgeois finds congenial. It is, after all, only a mechanical means of unifying empirical communities. In summary, the plea that the press, motion picture, and radio justify themselves by keeping people well informed turns out to be misleading. If one thinks merely of facts and of vivid sensations, the claim has some foundation, but if he thinks of encouragement to meditation, the contrary rather is true. for keeping the time element continuously present, and one may recall Henry James's description of journalism as criticism of the moment at the moment. They discourage composition and so promote the fragmentation already reviewed. We have seen in other connections how specialization is hostile to all kinds of organization, whether that organization is expressed as image, as whole, or as generalization. In the last analysis, this reveals itself as an attempt to prevent the simultaneous perception of successive events, which is the achievement of the philosopher. Materialism and success require the decomposed eternity of time with their operation, and this is why we have these hidden but persistent attacks on memory, which holds successive events in a single picture. The successive perception of successive events is empiricism. The simultaneous perception is idealism. Need we go further to account for the current dislike of long memories and for the hatred of the past? Recurring to Plato's observation that a philosopher must have a good memory, let us inquire whether the continuous dissemination of news by the media under discussion does not produce the provincial in time, the constant stream of sensation, eulogized as lively propagation of what the public wants to hear, discourages the pulling together of events from past time into a whole for contemplation. Thus, absence of reflection keeps the individual from being aware of his former selves, and it is highly questionable whether anyone can be a member of a metaphysical community who does not preserve such memory. Upon the presence of the past in the present depends all conduct directed by knowledge. There can be little doubt that this condition of mind is a large factor in the low political morality of our age. Oswald Garrison Villard, a political journalist of the old school, who spent half a century crusading for standards of probity in public administration, once declared that he had never ceased to marvel at the shortness of the public's memory, at the rapidity with which it forgets episodes of scandal and incompetence. It sometimes appeared to him of little use to attack a party for its unethical conduct, for the voters would have no recollection of it. The glee with which the epithet ancient history is applied to what is out of sight is, of course, a part of this barbarous attitude. The man of culture finds the whole past relevant. The bourgeois and the barbarian find relevant only what has some pressing connection with their appetites. Those who remember alone have a sense of relatedness, but whoever has a sense of relatedness is in at least the first grade of philosophy. Henry Ford's statement that history is bunk is a perfectly proper observation for a bourgeois industrialist, and it was followed with equal propriety by another. Creeds must go. Technology emancipates not only from memory, but also from faith. What humane spirit, after reading a newspaper or attending a popular motion picture, or listening to the farrago of nonsense on a radio program, has not found relief in fixing his gaze upon some characteristic bit of nature? It is escape from the sickly metaphysical dream. Out of the surfeit of falsity born of technology and commercialism, we rejoice in returning to primary data and to assurance that the world is a world of enduring forms which in themselves are neither brutal nor sentimental.